Hey everybody, Gina DeLuca here. You may wonder what you're seeing here. The other day I did a video doing the fractals and dendrites using the Dr. Ph Martins Hydrus Watercolors. What we're going to do today, I had some people asking about these watercolors and asking me to do a demo about how to use them and any tips. So I thought that I would today show you guys how to do a very easy watercolor project that anyone can do. I will show you quickly what these paints can do. This is a painting I did. This is all watercolor. I don't know if you can see the detail that you can get with those and the eyeballs. I don't know if that's focusing or not. But there's that. And then this is another one that I did. It's really great for flesh tones. The thing about this stuff that's amazing is, you know, when you're doing this, if you're doing thin layers and it's soaking into the paper, once it dries, it's permanent. And when you wet it again, it doesn't come up. Other watercolors, if you were to get a drip on it, it could ruin that area because it'll push the paint away. But this stuff, if you get a drip on it, you just dry it off and it's fine. That is a big selling point for me because I spent a very long time on a painting and wound up with a drip on it that just drove me insane and ruined the whole thing in my eyes. Okay, so what we have done, this is a design I came up with for a block print design. You may have seen this image in a previous video when I did a block print on a pour. So this is actually just a test sheet from that block print. And all I've done is traced it. I just put it up against a window and you can see it, trace around it. And then I'm going to, first, because I haven't done this yet because I wanted to show you. This tape, it's the Scotch Edge Lock tape. And this gives me the cleanest edges I have ever gotten on a watercolor. I mean, like, for real. So what I do is I put it on, you know, and I get it on there nice and tight, but then, wrong end. Then I go around the edges with the back of my pencil, which you will see I use as a tool quite often. And it really does make a difference, just giving it that little bit of extra adhesion. And you'll see when I pull this up, it is like the cleanest line. Make sure you get your corners well, because sometimes they can be a problem. Okay. So you want to use 2 pieces of tape when you put this down so it doesn't wiggle on you and move. This block print was not exactly centered on this paper, so I'm kind of having to eyeball this. I'm just going to say that'll do. My paper got wet. No bueno. Okay. Pencil edge. Actually, I'm going to use this one. I have this little spongy, it's like a insulator thing. My physical therapist gave me when my arm was having issues. Some of you who are subscribers or who have seen my other videos may know I am a beauty school dropout. A couple of years ago, I wound up with tendonitis in my elbow and a cyst in my wrist, and I could not complete my schooling. So my physical therapist gave me this little trick. It cuts down on the pressure or the fatigue, or it just makes it easier. So you just lift it up and check it, make sure you didn't miss any spots. Doesn't look like I did. All right, so we have here masking fluid. I recommend getting the clear masking fluid. Do not be tempted by the yellow. At least for watercolors. I used the yellow and it seemed fine at first, and then over time, the paintings that I used it on, it turned yellow where it was on the paper. An artist nightmare, because I sold some paintings where I used that, and unfortunately, I fear that they may have suffered the same fate. Okay, so the plain old white masking fluid. I have this thing is just like a clay working tool. I find it useful when doing this. And I have here just a little leftover thing from beauty school. Little daughter stylus for nail art. But it comes in very handy when you're doing the very tight areas, like this little corner right there. The nice thing about the metal, when you're using the silicone, these things, or a paintbrush even, if it starts to dry, it will stick to your brush or the silicone thing. But I have discovered recently that if you use this little metal tool, that does not happen. However, if you're doing big areas, it can take a while. But this gives you very clean lines, I have found. You will see what the silicone tool is for later. I recommend not using a paintbrush to apply the masking fluid unless you never want to use that paintbrush again. Okay, I've got my mask down and it is dry. I may have missed a spot or two. That's okay. This is for demo purposes. Okay, so you want to get this paper good and saturated. Actually, first thing I want to do is put some paint in my wells. So I have here the Dr. Ph Martins Hydrus and Brilliant cadmium red, which is really actually very orange. I'm going to do 2 drops of each of these. I have here quinacridone magenta, gamboge, and I have the Hansa Yellow Light. These paints go a very long way. If you are doing, you know, something that has more of a watercolor type effect where it's very see-through and you can see the paper glowing through it and it's more washy, this is enough to do like 5 paintings. This stuff goes forever. But what I'm doing today, I want very super vibrant, very bright. So I will probably wind up using more than I would for that. So let's, I'm gonna give that a spritz. And then going to work it in. And this paper will soak up a lot of water. So it may always seem kind of like overkill when you're doing your initial wetting of the paper, but it will absorb a lot. And you want it to be evenly distributed so the paint makes those beautiful blooms. If that's what you're going for. I don't know if I'm going to go for a wash or blooms. We'll see. I will let the paint tell me what to do. And you'll see the paper is starting to pop up. That is what happens. That is one of the reasons you tape it down. Because when it dries, it will dry flat as long as it is taped down. I'm just going to put a drop of water just dilute these a tiny bit. They are super concentrated. Okay, let's have some fun.
You want to try to keep your edges wet. That's what makes it blend nicely.
You have to work quick when you're working in watercolors. You can't dilly-dally because if your paper dries, you wind up with edges, hard edges. Okay, I'm gonna dry this and then I'm gonna come in for a second coat. You can just use a hairdryer which is awesome. This could be enough. You could just have that be it and it'll be beautiful. But I want to show you just how vibrant these colors can get with just 8 drops of paint. Okay, that is mostly dry. I can still feel a little bit of dampness, but we should be okay. Once this dries on the paper, it's there. I mean, you know, you can, of course, mess it up. If you pour water on it and scrub it, you can pull the pigments up. But an accidental drip of water is not going to ruin your painting. Let me demonstrate. I can get a drip to come off. So there are some drips there. On any other painting, you would be able to see that. Let me see if I can get a bigger drip. Look, I can't even get it to drip when I want it to. Okay, so there it is there. Anywhere else that would, any other paint that would make a dot. Oh, there's one. And you could just dab it up and, you know, some does come off, but it is not anything like what would happen with other watercolors where a drip can ruin your painting. So, now that y'all know that, we're gonna wet it again. You could not do this with most watercolors. This would just smear everything. Okay, so let's just come in with a second round of these colors. Actually, I might need a hair more of the magenta. I went a little heavy. That's starting to dry a bit. I didn't do a deep saturation there. Okay, that's looking good to me. Let's give it a quick dry. Okay, our painting is nice and dry. We will now take our little silicone nubby thingy, and you could also use an eraser gently. You don't want to pull up any of the pigment accidentally. When it is on this heavy, it is sitting on the top, so you can pull some off. But you know, when you're doing a typical watercolor application, it's absorbed into the paper and you're fine. So you just want to get it started. And then I love this part. You just pull it up. I read an article where a guy had this brand of watercolor in his basement for 20 years. He used to paint, he gave it up, and found them when he retired and gave them a whirl, and they still worked as good as they did 20 years before. Yeah, that's the spot I missed. So this stuff lasts for a really long time. I have done hundreds of paintings with this set of paint. And you can use it in an airbrush. Hey, pretty sure mine's waiting outside. There are lots of things you can do with this paint. Yeah, I missed some spots. I was rushing. Not gonna lie. I'm anxious to get to my airbrush. Okay. Pulled up a little piece of paper. So we have that done. Little trick about removing the tape. This is really cheap watercolor paper, which I actually pilfered from the 10-year-old. But to remove the tape, you know, this tape is very, very good at typically not tearing, but you can sometimes, because the paper has been wet and dried, and this is cheap paper, you can sometimes pull some of that up. So what you want to do, and I'll mute this because I'm sure it'll sound horrible, but you heat it up and then you pull at an angle. You'll see. That actually felt good. Our heat's still not on. Okay. So, you can see, look how clean those edges are. I will bring you in for a close-up so you can see that up close and personal. Okay. Look at those edges. Crisp and clean. And the colors are super vibrant. I didn't really do a bang-up job on my masking there. I kind of rushed my way through that. But you can see the colors are very vibrant. You can keep adding layers on top of layers and it just gets deeper and deeper. That was 8 drops of paint. There you have it. The stuff goes a very long way. I haven't run out of anything yet. I still have about a half of a bottle, like of the ones that I use the most. I still have a half bottle. So there it is. Hope you learned something. Don't be afraid of watercolors. There are ways to do it. So you can kind of just get practicing with the color and having fun with that. Don't be afraid. It's only paint. So, I hope you learned something. I hope you enjoyed. Please check out the description box below for links to my PayPal tip jar if you feel so inclined. My Amazon store. These paints are available in the Amazon store. Anything that you purchase off the entire site of Amazon, if you enter through that link, I make a small percentage of at no extra cost to you. So hook a sister up, especially with the holidays coming. Kick 6 cents my way. When you multiply that by 48,000 people, you know, it helps. So, also in the description box is a link to Go Make Some Art, our Facebook group. Please join us there. And you will be able to post your masterpieces and find someone to help you out should you find yourself in a painting pickle. And also my website, GinaDeLuca.net. I do have paintings and music up for sale there. Look how tight those edges are. Sorry. Anywho, that's it for me, you guys. I hope you have a beautiful day. Go make some art.